Hello friends, family and other creatures of the sea, and welcome to a best of 3 between Dark and Byun. These two rivals have been squaring off quite a bit over the last few months. Often feels that in the more important games, Dark wins, and the less important games, Byun wins. It's not a great trade deal there for Byun. When there's 50 bucks on the line, he gets to get the W, and when there's 10, 15, 20,000, it's going to be Dark often that wins. Gonna have to wait and see if that's going to be the case here as well. This was played in the Korean StarCraft League, as this Reaper got a single kill here. See Dark opening up with a gasless. This is something that he fairly often does. Opening up without gas, allowing him to get a lot of drones, a lot of queens, very good eco. And then the question, of course, is what the hell is this? The question, of course, is how's Byun gonna deal with that? For now, Byun's gonna build his CC on the low ground, which is something we don't actually see very often. It's actually quite rare. I don't think... Yeah, Dark is not aware of that whatsoever. It's also being built here in the forward location rather than on the left, which might be the more standard third base, at least that I'm aware of. Do have a tech lab here coming down. No second barracks. No starport. What actually is the plan here for Byun? Is he going to go 4 Hellion into 2 more barracks, or... I don't actually know what he's planning and doing here whatsoever. Did he just lose the Reaper, by the way? Yeah, I think he did. Must have walked into a queen or two. As for Dark, I mean, the name of the game is simple here for Dark. It's just going to be queen, 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 drone, 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 queen, queen, queen. And then from there on out, he's going to pump out, whether it's going to be Lynx or Roaches, it doesn't really matter. But it's going to be on a very high drone count. It's going to be on good eco. And hopefully for him, he's not going to really be taking any serious damage. Byun opting for a 4-car start. He's going to have 4 cars to try and deal some damage, but this map is so easy to hold. And that's really the reason why we see the skip on speed. We see, honestly, the skip on any amount of links here. You have this ramp, which makes it hard to run by into. A couple of links can hold this ramp, and all your aggressive rotations are much longer than the defensive rotations here of the queens, and that makes it so difficult for Terran to get anything done. Look at this. He runs over here. What's that going to be capable of doing? Well, maybe get the 2 more. It was actually quite nice. Oh, that was better than I thought it would be. Either way, third base is now up for Byun as well, as he's already mining from it. We have the extra barracks coming up, as double E base are about to finish too. Don't quite have a starport yet. Wait, there's another barracks. What? I'm not sure if he's forgetting about the starport here, but it's not very common to have someone open up with 5 barracks before a starport, because it means you can't really put on any pressure. We don't have a combat shield yet. Okay, here we go. I'm not entirely sure what this is going to be. Okay, now he's going to build the starport on the reactor. I think he just forgot about it, to be honest, because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. The standard is that you can get your 2 medevacs out relatively quickly with this. You can go out on the map. It's not like these 2 extra barracks really achieve a whole lot in their first minute and a half of their existence. As it does look like Dark, on the other hand, will be heading into a 1-1 Roach. Whether that's going to be a timing or more of a defensive play, we'll need to see. It's hard to judge. Okay, infestation pit goes down, so it's going to be what is known as the Cave Bob build order, where you go into a fast hive, eventually start playing into lurkers, maybe some vipers as well. Kind of a ranged unit composition here. So very, very low on the links is what we're expecting. Oh, he is getting his metabolic boost at least, so it's a little bit of a weird... It's been a weird early game so far, not gonna lie. It's been a weird early game. We have bunkers now coming down as well, as the roaches have been revealed. Of course, Byun doesn't know whether Dark is stopping at 66 workers, or at 77, or at 85 workers. So Byun is going to be playing it a little bit safe. Has these helmets ready as well. We have so many marines. Just now the first 2 medevacs are popping out, as Byun immediately wants to see if he can take out perhaps an overlord that was over here. He walked into that area. He's going to send these 2 medevacs out and about. See if we can get any damage done. I don't really think so. There's no base here on the far left side. Overlord will provide vision. Queens are in position in the main. We have a Spore in the main as well. So with a swift right click on one of these medevacs, should be capable of stopping them from going in. Here comes Dark. Yes, of course. It's going to be in time with that right click on top of the medevac. And that dealt absolutely 0 damage. Roaches, meanwhile, are going to be clearing some of these Hellbats over here. Tank in the back will keep this bunker safe, though. Relatively passive game so far. Neither player making a move to try and get far ahead. Although I don't think Dark needs to make any moves to get far ahead. His eco seems to be doing that job just fine. We're going to actually get a transition into Centrifugal Hook's Bailing Speed. As well as melee upgrades. Carapace level 2. That's a very high Roche count. To then just go into Pureling Bane. We also have the Ultra Cavern coming in. Oh, Byun. Byun didn't pay attention, but he also didn't get hit. So maybe he didn't need to pay attention. 5th base here is without any workers. And now my question is going to be, what are the plans here for Byun? Is Byun just planning on sitting behind a wall of tanks, bunkers and planetaries? Second tech lab on the factory coming out now. And then trying to go into a late game. Look at the money that Dark has already. These links are coming in from the side. This simply cannot work. Absolutely no way. Yeah, Depot doesn't even end up going down. Planetary will start. I think what we're waiting for right now is just a big influx of Banelings. That's the only thing that makes any sense. We have 112 links out on the map. Here we go. He once again tries to run into this position, but that's just not going to work. It's going to cost him a lot of links. Drops about 20-25 supply in pure links. Starts 4 Ultralisks, as well as the Adrenal Glands. You have the Chitinous Plating, Anabolic Synthesis gets queued up. That is very rare to see at high level, seeing upgrades queued up. I guess that shows that he has plenty of cash in the bank. But really, he doesn't have plenty of workers in the bank. That's the thing that worries me here. Is that, yes, Dark has been at a good eco 3 minutes ago. You know, for 6 minutes, 74, 75, 76 workers. That's pretty decent. But 9 or 10 minutes into the game, we're still at the exact same worker count. We have actually lost some workers due to the construction of buildings. And they haven't been reproduced. It doesn't feel like it, but Dark is actually kind of all in here. He doesn't have a crazy ego. He doesn't have a crazy army. All he really has is one opportunity to try and break his opponent. And I think he wants to go for it. He has a bit of a concave setup. Running through these chokes, though, it's not going to be super fun. Marine count is fairly high. Tank count is also fairly high. The question is, can these tanks deal with the Ultralisk? I'm not so sure if the answer to that is going to be yes. Because these Marines definitely cannot. It's 2-2 versus, well, +2 Carapace, and with Chitinous Plating now finishing up as well. These Marines are just not going to be so strong. This is an attack from a single angle. Let's see, can the Banelings get connections here that they want? Tanks holding strong for now. Marauders in the back helping out as well. We're going to get a lift. 11 workers falling as the second Ultra now also ends up going down. At the same time, we have a massive Marine run by here, heading in towards the 6th base, which is going to get cancelled. A bunch of creep tumors might end up falling with that as well. Can we have a lift into the main base, or is that too much here? I think that's just going to be a little bit too much. These Marines will need to be lifted and will boost away towards the left side of the map. I think Dark wants to go again, but he simply does not have the gas to make this a very strong force whatsoever. Marine count perhaps not high enough, though, as the links do get an okay-ish surround at the same time as split off here towards the base. Tanks are falling, and this actually ends up being a pretty okay trade. Byun missing these 24 Marines that are just kind of chilling here in the top right or the top left corner of the map. Now has lost all of his tanks, and Dark, despite the complete lack of gas in this composition, is just gonna break through. The Marauder count not quite high enough. The defense is not on point, and GG gets called. This was way more all in than perhaps this 3k bank makes you believe, but like it really was all in. Just because it worked doesn't mean it was any less all in. There's no serious gas economy behind any of that. I think he was only working off of maybe 6 or 7 gases. Maybe just 6 actually. Nothing really in the bank. Couldn't go for any of these high bailing counts. Just at the end was finally trying to mix in a couple of spellcasters in the form of Vipers. But yeah, it feels like if Byun can maybe survive a little bit longer to a slightly higher Marauder count, I actually think Dark would have been in some serious trouble. Either way, he's not in serious trouble, so he managed to win that game. Let's see what Byun's gonna do here on Dynasty. I'm surprised that Dynasty made it into a best of 3. This is a map that is often considered very good for Terran, considered very good for Protoss against Zerg as well. It's just one of these maps where you look at it and think to yourself, well, it's gonna be rough. Because the non-Zerg player can take a gold base as their initial base, and Zerg cannot. Because if Zerg tries to take that base, they're gonna struggle with Hellions, Reapers, Adepts, Oracles, really any harassed unit, because you can't reach the right side of the map safely. Can't have your queens on the right side of the map, and that makes defense extremely difficult. Right, let's see what Dark has up his sleeve. Ooh, once again. Gonna play a gasless opener. On this map, I'm kind of surprised by it. It's not something we see all the time, obviously. Well, Dark likes to play it all the time, but it's not something that I personally see in this matchup. On a map like this. We usually only see it on maps where there's very little entrances to the bases, making it easy to defend with queens. Dark here says, look at this, buddy. 1 path, 2 path, 3, 4, no problem. I can play gasless. Curious to see how Byun's going to deal with that. Last game, it felt like he couldn't really hinder his opponent's growth. I wonder if that's going to be different this time around. The factory's on the way already. The Reaper marching across. The Reaper has a fairly tankless job, I think. You get built. Yeah. First of all, it's very warm in the suit. Constantly flames around you. Costs 50 gas, 50 minerals. Early on in the game, that's kind of an investment, you know? Later on in the game, it's like, pish posh. But early on, it's like, ooh, it's kind of big. You almost never get your money's worth. Although, now that I say that, he's going to get 3 freaking Ling kills. And in the moment the clock hits 4, it's pretty much like the Terran doesn't care about you anymore, you know? Like, oh my god. This Reaper's actually getting so much done, holy crap. Here I'm talking crap about the Reaper. Feels like often they're just happy with getting a single Ling kill, and then they dream about the Creep Tumor, but here, he actually got the Creep Tumor as well, I guess. Pretty big deal. Pretty big deal indeed. Reaper now is going to try and move in, see if he can get any more damage done. We have some cars on the way already. We have a starport. Don't really have anything else though. No third CC. Can't look into the future and know if there's going to be one anytime soon. It does feel like it will be, in my estimation, a Banshee build, right? Gonna see the swap here of these two. Unless he wants to just build Vikings, then it's technically allowed. Okay, here we go. Still gonna get the swap. Was a little bit slow on it. This Reaper is idling nearby. The Hellions now going for a run by. Look at this. Oh, look at this move. This is beautiful. He's just going to route them right past the Queens. Queens not entirely in position. Lynx definitely not in position. How many workers can we get here? Well, perhaps the answer is very little, and perhaps these Hellions are just going to end up dying. 3 drones go down. That's for 2 cars. It's honestly not that bad of a trade. At the same time, we have the 2 Hellion Reaper here on the bottom side trying to deal some damage as well. That also isn't quite going to work out. So Byun so far has skipped his 3rd command center for quick harassment that has achieved nothing. He's now adding an insanely fast 2nd barracks. Would you look at this? No 3rd CC quite yet. No 3rd CC. So it's almost a 2 base all-in, except it's not all-in. At the same time, we have roaches popping out for Dark, who is on 2 gases, 41 workers. But these are safety roaches, because we already have drones behind it. These are absolutely safety roaches. Has Dark scouted anything here whatsoever? He sees the CC go down, has seen nothing else. Seeing the CC go down on the low ground actually gives you so much information, because you know already then that there was no 3rd base yet. It's not like Byun's going to build his 4th base here on location. So basically it tells you that there's going to be some serious attack coming in relatively soon. Spore just in time to deal with this crap. This crap being the 1 Banshee. At the same time, we have 2 Hellions and a Reaper once again trying to go into the same position. But 6 Lings are there to deal with it. 1-2 workers will fall. But that's going to be all your presence on the map gone. Banshee falls here as well. Doesn't even get this Queen. Now this roach is going to end up dying, but the SCV also got killed. Still have an overlord over here on the high ground. This has been an extremely poor start for Byun once more. Really just not getting anything done. You got the most done with the Reaper. I mean, losing 1 Banshee, 4 Hellions, and an SCV for 7 drones and 2 roaches. That's really not quite it in my mind. Like, having a Banshee alive is such a big deal usually. The same counts for the Hellions majority of the time. See what these double medevacs can do. Perhaps a cancel on the forward base. That would be a welcome win here for Byun. So far he hasn't really gotten any wins whatsoever in this game. Look at the double drop. Overlord pisses off. Oh, it's not even gonna die. This is so frustrating. Now you're gonna have to. It's gonna stim and run around. It's like, oh no. I mean, Dark already has 4 more Overlords on the way. Man, it's still worth it and still nice. It's just, it just takes so much time. There's gonna be another Overlord that will end up falling. Dark was a little slow there in the response. Perhaps could have saved it otherwise. So let's face it, Byun wasn't the quickest at clearing that first OV. See if Dark is going to figure out that there is a double drop. Probably trying to head in towards the main base. I think, nah, Dark doesn't quite realize, or at least realize a little bit too late. His queens are out of position. What do we actually have in the main? Do we have any links here? No, we have 3 roaches. We have 1 spore. We have a couple of overlords, but that's really all there is to it. And both of these OVs are probably going to end up falling. At least one of them will go down. We're now going to get a pickup. Combat shield's about to finish up as well. These 2 medevacs just going to be idling here in the no man's land that is this general area. There's not going to be any creep, making it difficult for queens to come here. Gonna have an unload right now. Fort base on the way. +1 upgrades. Just attack though for Byun. Has the ability to stim and maybe clear a couple of drones, except there's not so many drones available right now. It's kind of painful. We can kill anything else. The answer does seem to be no. Not a whole lot. 2 drones go down. It's better than nothing, but it's also very similar to nothing. Oh, it's actually gonna fight this. Nice control there. Trying to turn one of these into a Ravager. It's not quite gonna work out though. +1 really helping out here for Byun as he takes out a bunch of these roaches. Will clear the morphing Ravager as well. Continues fighting at the same time. It's like, hey, I'm not done here yet. Dark already was done with that fight. Sent some of the roaches away. Byun now has a significant marine count. Has 2-3 tanks. 3 tanks actually to be exact. And I'm starting to wonder if we could maybe see these second 2 medevacs going across the map, or we even could have a serious tank push here. I mean, Dark was building 10 overlords at a time just now. That's a lot of money invested in units that don't actually fight. He has 5 more OVs, despite already being maxed out in capacity. We have a 4th orbital command center going down as well. So it does seem to me that Byun is actually in a better spot right now. I'm not entirely sure what happened, but it feels like these 2 medevacs by themselves have kind of single-handedly changed the course of this game. Lurker then on the way. Did Byun scout that? Yeah, it does scout that. That's nice. That's a very neat scout. The moment you see a lurker, then what do you want to do? We often see as a response a complete cut in marine production. Look at this. See no marines being built, despite there being plenty of cash around. We'll see a Ghost Academy, and then more command centers and tanks on the way. So one of the mistakes that a lot of Terrans make, even at the higher level, is that they'll continue building marines when marines aren't the answer anymore. The answer in this case is going to be marauders, ghost, and tanks. Once you're fighting against lurkers, that is absolutely the case. So we see a complete cut here in marine production. You only build marines really to have some aggression, some potential to deal damage on the kind of the sides of the map, the fringes of the map. They're not going to be useful in these big battles. They really aren't. They have good damage output, but they just can't stand up against the lurker spines. As here comes the double drop now moving in with the +2 attack. Should be capable actually of getting a decent trade here against just these links. There's no Banes around. We're still going to get a pickup, I can only imagine. No, just going to lose all of them. He really doesn't want them. And more command centers going down. So the money you're saving from not consistently building marines is now just going to be invested into command centers that will either turn into planetaries or orbitals. And once that orbital count starts growing, the problem really is that Terran practically has map hack. Like, they have so much vision. They have the ability to correctly judge every fight ahead of time because they just get that full vision of your army every single time. There should be a pickup on this tank. It shouldn't try and siege up. Oh, actually he's gonna move back. This area is actually fairly vulnerable. I wonder if this command center is gonna turn into like a planetary over here. It wouldn't completely surprise me. Yeah, we have a planetary going down in this area, kind of like a zoning planetary, but this is a very vulnerable spot where you're looking at it and you're thinking to yourself, hey, is this something I can hold? I think he needs to move it a little bit further forward and then really try and morph it into a planetary. I think that would be a good move. I was just gonna leave it here, but a planetary it is indeed. 5th base starts as well on the bottom side. What is our orbital count right now? We're still only on 4, but with 2 more CCs on the way, I think that number is going to increase to 6 and perhaps eventually even 8. Although one of these could also turn into a planetary. Byun now down to play some Sim City over here. He has a lot of buildings. Dark has 100 drones. Drones aren't really going to help him in breaking this position though, as these ghosts, ooh, moving into the lurker spines. That's not quite what you want, buddy. Gonna get a shot on 2 of these lurkers. Will end up falling. Planetary in some trouble. Tanks perhaps should be moving forward. Ghost not being controlled. At the same time we have a fight over here. But this was the real fight, I think, money-wise. Feels like a lot of cash was lost here. Tanks real slow at scooting forward. Gonna get a replacement on that CC instantly. That was pretty expensive though, because he lost a bunch of ghosts there. 4 ghosts going down. And ghosts really only become better in large numbers. You get so much better to have 10 ghosts rather than just 6 or 5, you know? It feels much, much better. Their strength grows in numbers. 2 more infestors now coming out. We have a baneling nest. We have continued range upgrades, by the way, while trying to switch into a melee-based type of style as well. We have spine crawlers, spore crawlers. Mining going on here on the bottom side already. Dark's having the time of his life here. He's gonna catch some of these units with a fungal. It's gonna be -1 or 2 ghost once more. Bal's not quite connecting with the other ghost. And this is an area that's just gonna be real rough to break. You have a Nidus worm now going down on the left side. Perhaps for lurkers or perhaps just for as a distraction, because there's really nothing in it. 85 workers on the side of Dark, who isn't entirely sure how he wants to max out quite yet. Which is interesting, of course. Like he's struggling figuring out what army comp he actually wants. Because he's right now, he's shy 30 supply of being maxed out. How's he gonna be doing that? I don't quite know. Okay, we have... wait, what? Swarm host. Okay. That's a... 80, wow. Really? It's rare. I can't quite recall the last time I saw this exact type of setup against Ghost Tank. I feel like the last time I saw it is also when Dark did it, but this is really not common. Like, this is one of these things you look at it and go like, oh, this kind of works in theory, but I don't think it should work in real life. I don't quite know why. Like, technically we're camping. We have a unit that produces 3 units. It has a very specific role, as in kind of a siege breaker. I mean, we're in a sieged up position. The problem is that ghosts aren't really siege units. So if you have a good ghost count, you can clear locust relatively quickly often. While also having a fairly mobile army that can deal well with these large units like lurkers, roaches, and of course the swarm host. The downtime on these swarm hosts is fairly long as well. And we immediately, look at this, the change of pace here coming out of Byun, just instantly running forward with this Ghost Marauder force says, hey, you have a lot of supply here in swarm host. I think I have a right to be out on the map right now. And I do believe Byun has that right. Perhaps he even should be out on the map. It's more than a right. It's a, you know, it's his, what do you call that? His obligation, pretty much. Because if he's not out on the map, these Swarm Host waves actually could deal some serious damage. I think a couple of Hellbats in the mix wouldn't hurt either. No Ghost ended up falling there. Right now we have 18 Swarm Hosts worth of supply that aren't capable of doing anything. And Byun realized that. He moves in forward, gets a couple of snipes off here on these Lurkers, on these Queens, on these Vipers. And yeah, this is this is the downside of the Swarm Host. And yeah, the Swarm Host is great when it's producing units. And it's free, you know, you're getting these free trades. But really the trades aren't free, because whenever the Swarm Host wave is down, these Ghosts are going to start pushing in forward. And you're going to be in trouble as the ZERG player. Here we go. That's a Locust wave very far away from a serious target. So now that Byun is this far out on the map, he can force out these Locust waves. I mean, what is this going to hit? Byun could have just lifted up these tanks, and I don't think this could have done anything. And even now, I don't really think it's going to be capable of doing anything. It doesn't get a single kill there. And now, once again, it's Byun's turn. These tanks actually are going to start moving in forward as well. The Lurkers are the only thing... Oh, yes, he added more Swarm Host. Why would he do that? What? That is insane. He's just going to get sniped here. He dropped all the Locusts. But these Ghosts are invisible. There's still plenty of tanks around as well. We have a second Locust wave now coming in. Sporf moving in forward. Every single Lurker is gonna die here on the bottom side, as you see in the resources lost. But Byun is doing pretty okay. And let's not forget that currently we have an army. Like, look at the army value here. This is an extremely low army value. Swarm Hosts are supply inflators. That's their main job. They pad up your army, they pad up the numbers, make it look nice. This is not real supply here. Like, these Swarm Hosts, they can't really fight. It's a good pickup. Couple of Banes without speed. Base here on the bottom side has gone down. Byun hasn't really stopped expanding. He's right now on 6 orbital commands. Still has some random command centers. And here comes another huge wave. Currently have 60 Locusts out, so... we can assume that it was every single Swarm Host that tried its best here. Locust gonna take out a planetary, maybe a tank. Yeah, tank, 2-3 Hellbats. And now once again it's Byun time. Like, you kind of have this this tidal interaction between the two. You know, sometimes it's Byun's turn, and then he has to pull back again as the Locust waves come out further up on the shore. Byun is going to actually lose a couple of Ghosts here, despite there not being any Locusts available. That's pretty sloppy, because this unit count isn't high enough to achieve that, or isn't high enough to should be capable of achieving that. Here comes a huge freaking wave again. 66 Locusts coming out. There are no Overseers with this, which is a monumental mistake. Because these Ghosts can just cloak up and clear these Locusts at a very, very high pace. So the cloak is now run out. Locusts are gonna drop, and a couple of Ghosts will end up falling. 29 Ghosts have gone down. And actually, resources lost is moving closer. I am shocked at what I'm seeing here. Absolutely shocked. 33 Swarm Host. All by themselves. The kind of is this scouting mission? What is this? Oh, he's just gonna clear these tanks, I guess. That's kind of cute. Sending a couple forward, and here comes the big wave. Is he gonna be capable of clearing a lot? I think he might just be, because this is a tank over here. Oh, I wish there were more Locusts towards the right side, because they could have done so much damage at the same time. We had the Overseer flank coming in. There's a Viper there. Maybe you could have cleared some of these medevacs, but it ain't. 24k lost to 26k. It seems like Dark has kind of found the sweet spot here in how he wants to deal with this army. It's like a very small force of Hydra Link Bane. A very large force of these Swarm Hosts. Supply is getting lower and lower. It's definitely going to be capable here of taking out this base. He used the entire Swarm Host wave, which is not quite what I had expected. I don't think against a single planetary you're going to need 60 Locusts, but Dark thinks different, or at least he does different. These Locusts are going to get a couple of kills on the SCVs as well. Not all of them, but at least a couple. Spine Spore here on the left side, as the Swarm Hosts probably need to make their way over here. Dark believes that he can actually fight it, and he might just be right. Moving out is scary, especially if it's near creep. Hydras are doing a very good job. Resources lost. Extremely close. I am impressed by the way that Dark is maneuvering here. I really am. It feels like that with the next wave, if we can clear this tank line, Byun's actually going to be in some serious trouble. So we have a couple of Locusts now landing. Here we go. All of these tanks trying to desperately unsiege. That's -1 tank. It's going to probably be -2 tanks. At the same time, there's 2 more tanks over here as well. Every single tank is just gonna fall here on the right side. We have 2 tanks still at the old third at the same time. Byun pushing in forward. With these ghosts, needs to be careful though, because banelings can always clear you. And even Hydras apparently on creep are pretty freaking decent as well. It might even be time to try and mix in a couple of infestors. That would be huge, of course. In general, mass swarm host with the infestors, in my mind, would be fantastic. You have like a burrowed infestor that can catch some of these ghosts after you send out a locust wave. Yeah, that'd be great. We have another fat wave here coming in, and that's the end of this base. And Dark is actually okay just trading bases because he has much more money. He says, hey, if we're just trading bases, I'm getting some free pickups, you're getting some free pickups. That's okay for me because I have a bigger bank. I've been mining more so far this game, and the trades are honestly shockingly even. Here comes a good pickoff. Once more, Dark, he's just finding all of them. 3 medevacs will end up falling, a bunch of ghosts going down. This base can just be given up. It's not the end of the world. And we could potentially even have a full-on attack here with these swarm hosts going for the tanks. At the same time, Hydraling Bane coming in as well, perhaps with a flank. We don't quite have enough orbitals to continuously be scanned. Actually, we have 9. We should be continuously scanning as here comes the drop on the Locust. A couple of ghosts will end up falling. Don't forget, this doesn't cost Dark anything. At the same time, he tries to break the left side. I don't think he's quite going to be capable of doing that, as this hatchery is now once again under fire. Byun even struggling maxing out at this point. Of course, we still have the issue is that this army doesn't actually fight straight up. So if Byun is going to be capable of pushing in forward and actually playing a little bit more aggressive still, this could still be scary. But these swarmers are waiting for their opportunity. They're going to send it instantly. Here we go. See if there's enough stuff here. Locusts are trying to spread out. Liberator sieging up as the Ghost Cloak up. Here come the Overseers as well. All of these tanks are going to fall. These turrets should be in trouble too, as the left side will remain alive here for Byun with 2 tanks with hardly any HP. Hydra Bane's going to get pushed back as well. And this was one of the... Actually, no, this once again was a fine fight. Wait, what? 14 more swarm hosts on the way. He's gonna go up to 50 swarm host. I don't think I've ever seen this before in my life. Dark has just decided to stop building workers. He's like, why would I need workers if I can just trade with my swarm host? The swarm hosts are his economy. Look at this. He's gonna keep a decent force of Hydraling Bane, practically 0 mining, and then pure swarm host. He's gonna beat this army on the rest. It's gonna be 180 army supply for the Zerg player. Takes out this base. We have a Nidus coming up right now. We have 43 active swarm hosts on the map. You have 15 Hydralisks. A bunch of links that can turn into Banelings. And Byun just wants to remain active. And I think that makes sense. I even believe we should have 2 groups of swarm hosts so you can perhaps try and flank an army. Byun is mining a little, but it's really just a little. You know what I think would be good? Liberators here. Liberators have an anti-air attack with crazy splash. Crazy splash. Great against low HP targets, like the Locust. And also, they can be attacked by the Locust. So it's basically a tank, but better. Basically a tank, but better. Here we go. Hydra's moving in forward. We'll clear these 2 Liberators as the Locusts take out pretty much everything else here on the ground. It's just pure Hydra swarm host. I mean, this just doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist. These swarm hosts are actually on cooldown, and that's not looking too hot here. Gonna be on cooldown for at least another 15 seconds or so. That means that these Hydras will be in some trouble. Don't forget, there's no eco behind this whatsoever for Dark. So if he loses all these units, rebuilding them is going to be quite tricky. Swarm hosts now being cornered. That means that some of them are going to end up falling. And also, you probably need to send in like pretty much a panic Locust wave here to to deal with this. There's a lot of Hellbats in the mix. It's going to be Ghost, Hellbat, Viking, and I think you can pretty much just run away here at this point. You have a bunch of tanks in the back as well. It's going to make matters much worse here for Dark, as the Locusts are not quite going to reach their targets. Hellbat's dishing out so much damage and hardly any dying here. This was a good fight for Byun. He is still down in resources lost, which shocks me. But he is outmining his opponent because of this bottom side base. A single Ling run by could end this. As in, not a single Ling, but a Ling run by like 10, 12 Lings would be a huge deal at dealing with this, with the adrenal glands, which actually haven't been researched yet. Could have been big. Another Locust Wave now coming in. We do have some Infestors that are about to hit the map. We have Burrow as well, and I think Dark right now is realizing that if you don't catch this army, your Locusts are just not really doing anything. You need to have some type of objective. I don't think these Locusts are going to be in time to deal with the tanks. Should have split off a couple, but doesn't quite get it. And that's frustrating because that's a lot of supply that's just kind of standing still over there. I think Byun had forgotten about it. And I think Dark had forgotten about it a little bit too long as well. We're going to see a Nidus network coming down over here, but this is an orbital that can just lift. So that shouldn't be the end of the world. At the same time, we now have our first two Infestors. I think they should be burrowed and out and about pretty much. Gonna get some snipes. EMP hits the Infestor. More snipes hitting here. Oop. Lurker's in some trouble. As the Swarmos here are popping out. There's a lot of Marines here in the mix. Not sure if these Swarmos actually can get back into the Nidus in time. It feels like the answer is yes, they can. Resources lost. 54,000 versus 52,000. But at this point, every second that goes by is a great second for Byun because he's significantly outmining his opponent. He's building a command center here on the bottom side as well. He has so many scans. He's actually adding in Marines again, which makes sense. Earlier I said the Marine is a waste, but against the composition that consists of mainly Swarm hosts, the Marine's actually pretty freaking powerful. Like, the Marines are fast, they're okay against the Locust. Like, they're not great, but they're definitely not terrible either. So this tank isn't going to end up falling. Can you clear this? I'm not even sure. Look at him go, man. Look at him go. We have 3 separate waves of Locusts now being active, by the way. Kind of spreading them out. But it's still not spread out enough because all these Swarmos are on cooldown. I do believe that is the way, though. If you're playing against a more mobile army. It's like, hey, I want 10 Swarmos using their Locust Wave now, 10 now, and 10 later again. You know, just get 3 or 4 groups of Locust Waves. It's of course difficult to micro, but it is definitely necessary. And it's gonna allow you to continuously put on pressure. This is a much bigger wave. I think this is 2/3 of the Swarmhost army. Definitely gonna clear a couple of these tanks. I can't imagine a world in which he doesn't get these tanks. Ends up getting 2 out of the 3. It's not a whole lot. At the same time, we have a Marine push here on the top left side. And there's not a single unit to defend it, unless you count that Roach. But I don't. As all of the drones are gonna end up falling. And I think with that, Byun honestly might have just done it. All that Byun needs to do right now is clear these final Lurkers. And once these are gone, like these final 4 Lurkers, there really is nothing but Swarmhost. And Swarmhost can't chase an army. Swarmhost can't attack buildings because buildings can lift. So we're going to be in a situation where you have a non-mobile army that can't attack air. And Byun can just mine from 2-3 different sides of the map. And Dark can only pressure one side. I mean, these Locusts are not really getting the damage done. GG is gonna get called, and after 29 minutes and 22 seconds of pure Swarmhost action, Byun will tap the series. After that banger of a game, game number 3 can sadly only be worse. This is the reality of things, you know? In life, sometimes you peak, and afterwards, everything else will be mediocre in comparison with that peak. And that's going to be this game number 3. Although it is starting good with a 3 Rex Reaper, I don't think it can beat what we witnessed in the last game. We've watched Dark legitimately go from a 6k bank with 180 supply of crap and then lose while messing Swarmhost. Like this is a once in a lifetime type of situation, you know, that we're not going to see this again, especially because he lost with it. Had Dark won with this particular setup, we would have been seeing it perhaps in the future again. But now that he's lost with it, I'm just not feeling it. I don't feel like if you had some freaking infestors at any point, like some burrowed infestors or just some real infestors around the map, if you hit like a single fungal, like all these ghosts go down. How many times didn't we see the ghost capable of cloaking away from that locust force? That wasn't good. Tank staying alive for too long as well for no real reason. Once again, he's opening up with a gasless opener. Byun now decided, you know what, if you're going to be playing gasless all the time, I'm going to be playing some Triple Rex Reaper here. And that's indeed just what he's doing. He's going to be playing Triple Rex Reaper. So, I am not an expert in Terran versus ZERG, 3 Rex versus gasless. But from what I've heard out of ZERG players, is that this is a default loss. Gasless versus 3 Rex Reaper. This is bad. This is a bad situation. It is not good. It's the opposite of good even. Because you don't have any speed, you don't have any roaches. All you have are queens and slow links, and maybe half a spine crawler. In the hands of someone like Byun, I mean, this could potentially be detrimental. It really could be. Links are now being sent out. Is that spine? Yeah, that I was gonna say. The spine should be done at this point. Just kind of relaxing though. Doesn't really want to go. It's like, I've seen what happens with those grenades. Where you think I want to go there? Oh, this is bad. Because there's really nothing in the main base. He's gonna go for the queen. He's gonna not get it because there's a transfuse available. I think I'm just gonna get a couple of kills here on these drones, no? Yeah, look at that. 6 Reapers should be capable of one-shotting if they all shoot at the same time. And now that I say this, look at this. These bad boys are kind of stuck in the main base, or are they? I guess being stuck in the main base isn't so bad if all there is slow queens and a bunch of drones. It still does feel kind of scary though. Byun needs to figure a way to get out of here. He's not quite finding it, to be honest. He really isn't. He's gonna get a couple of kills here on drones. Is this a good situation for Dark? Yeah. Probably. I mean, he's up a base. He just cleared out basically all the Reapers. He has a very solid queen count. What are we at? Like 10? 9? 9 queens, 4 minutes and 36 seconds in. And now he's going to have pure freedom in droning up to whatever number he believes is the right number. You know, he can legit just pick a number. Like, what is he gonna die against? Nothing. He can't die against anything because he's really far ahead. We don't even have a factory started yet. So we're not even gonna have a starport started. Like, medevacs are so far away. We're closer to flying skateboards than medevacs at this point. That's how long it's gonna take here. It's the sad reality of things. It really is. These Reapers really should not be capable of dealing any more damage. They will get one more tumor, but that should be it. We still have 9 queens. I wish there was a queen at each base, though. Injecting as well. I think injects are going to be key. Big supply block here for Dark, which is a very mediocre mistake. It's a bad mistake to make at this point. But he's so far up in supply. The spine is going to get a fat hit there on that Reaper. Oh, Reaper's going to snipe that creep tumor. Byun with Reapers is really something. A phenomenal player. Some people have even said that he might be the best player in the world with the Reaper. And when I say some, I mean everyone. That's really, I think, kind of an accepted fact at this point. At the height of the Reaper craze in 2016, I think in my mind, there were 2 players that used it very well. 3 players. You had Byun, then you had Uthermal and Kalazur. And they performed with the Reaper way above their non-Reaper level, basically. They were so good at microing them. I remember a series between Uthermal and Cyril from... I'm not even sure if he played Reaper here. I think he did. Every single game. It was in DreamHack Montreal. I think it was called WCS Fall or something in 2016 or 2017. Where me, Uthermal, Cyril, Welmu, we all got stuck at the airport. Our flights got delayed for a day. We had to stay in a hotel in Amsterdam. And then we barely arrived in time for the tournament. All of us pretty jet-lagged, and you thermal played against Cyril in the first round. And I think he 3-Rex Reapered him 3 times and won in like 15 minutes. Freaking Cyril flying with a day and a half delay. Just to get blasted by Reapers. That was a good era in StarCraft 2, let me tell you. That was a good era in StarCraft 2. As, yeah, that's not the case here. Reapers, I mean, they dealt a bit of damage, but at the end of the day, we look at the situation. We see Dark on 78 drones soon. +1 upgrade. And he's going to be down in upgrades pretty severely. But I don't think Byun can really put a dent into anything here. Byun's reign of Reaper terror has ended. I think back then Reaper grenades dealt more damage as well. It's so crazy for me to think that 2016 is now 8 years ago. It feels so recent still. Like it happened yesterday. These tournaments. A long time ago. Okay, here come the Marines. They have 1-1 upgrades. Actually managed to snipe 1 or 2 queens, which is impressive. We have 6 more Overlords on the way as well. It's going to allow Dark to max out. Baneling Nest coming in, as well as the Hive. This seems to be the preferred way of playing for Dark at the moment. With an initial Roach start, following it up with really Ling Bane, and I guess we're expecting Ultras once more. These Roaches are holding the line. 1 more queen has fallen, I believe, here. So I think we have 3 queens. Yeah, 3 queens total going down. And resources lost is very close, and it's in favor of Dark. So it's definitely good for the ZERG player there. Let's see if Dark is going to do the same thing again as he did in game number 1, where we're kind of seeing this very fast rise into like 75, 76 drones, like quick into a relatively, like let's call it a medium drone count. All right, like not high, just medium. You know, not crazy numbers. And then he just stays there for the rest of the game. This seems to be Dark's preferred way of playing, which is kind of cool because it gives him a strong army. Like a lot of European Zergs specifically. Here I go again, blaming the Europeans. A lot of European Zergs, they look at this type of situation and are like, oh, 74 workers? I feel like I could go up to 88, 89, 90, 92 workers. Fairly risk-free. And they'll do that. But as a result, their army is 20 supply weaker when they go for attacks. And Dark says, hey, I want to get to that clean worker count pretty freaking early, and then from there on out, we're just going to be pumping out units. We have enough gas income of 6 gases to get the stuff that I need, and then we're just going to be sending it again and again and again and again. And that's going to be the plan that Dark will be kind of abiding by here. There are a couple of links being sent out. He's just going to check to see if there's anything at home. I think he saw some tanks, and it's like, hey, if your tanks are across the map, do you have any defense at home? And the answer, quite frankly, is no. There's nothing at home. So full link sent here out of Dark is going to actually get a surround on one of these tanks. We'll get the clear on it. Depot has raised, but a couple of depots here will end up falling most likely. Or at least start burning. This is a good attack here by Dark. He wins himself a bit more time. Get these Vipers out with with hopefully some energy as well. Where are they, Mr. Viper? Oh, actually we're in the main base dealing with these medevacs parasitic bombing them. At the same time, this push is gonna get cleared. Tanks will fall. Roach Ravager, Ling Bane. What a composition that we're seeing out of Dark. Very heavy on the Roaches still, and he seems to be okay with that. Much more than any other Zerg, who probably would like to get rid of those Roaches. But Dark says, you know what, I can play a 20-minute game with 15 Roaches in my comp, and I have no issues with it. He really is a different breed, Dark. He really is. Where a lot of other Zergs would be heavily focused on keeping their creep, Dark is heavily focused on not giving a crap. You know, if you want to clear some of my creep, that's fine. You're wasting scans here, buddy. I wasn't going to fight on creep anyway. I'm planning on attacking you the moment my ultras pop, and this base is going to survive. Queen count is at a measly 1. Once again, this is one of these things where you look at it and it's like, oh, this is real bad. But this push that Dark is sending out is going to have so much more army supply that is good at fighting than any other Zerg usually would have in this situation. Usually we're still at 10 or 8 or 9 queens. We're at 80, 89 workers. Like, that is a big difference in army supply here in total. You're already getting like 14, 15 supply from having less drones, and then maybe another 15 to 20 supply from having less queens. And that just means that in total, you're up, what, like 30 supply? 30 army supply more? Like, that is quite a bit. That is 60 links extra here in the mix, and that's what we're seeing, is that Byun is actually really struggling with this. Usually this type of drop missing from the defense isn't that big of a deal, but in this case it definitely is, as we see Dark pushing in, and Byun just... He breaks. He's trying to bend, but he breaks. He snaps. That's your spine, my dear friend. That's your back. Your backbone is gone right now. He's still trying to drop, trying to counterattack. He has cleared one base. It's going to be 4 base versus 4 base. 70 versus 70 workers. Let's not forget about that. The worker count for Dark is pretty abysmal. It's not great. That means that if he takes some bad trades, it's going to suck. But he's not taking the bad trades because his army is powerful, his army is strong, his army is big. He's getting okay trades. We have the chitinous plating done. We have the anabolic synthesis done. I'd love to see a carapace level 3 upgrade. I think that's going to be huge. Right now we're fighting 3-3 versus 1-2. These upgrades are not looking good for Dark. I think Byun is going for a very ill-advised push here. This is ill-advised because it's not necessary. If we take a look at the eco here, we see that Byun is outmining his opponent. Byun already has 3 extra command centers as well. It's 4 base versus 4 base. Byun is pretending like this is a normal game. Like this is a game where Dark is outmining him factor 1.8. That's not the case here at all. Byun is the one that's outmining his opponent. Byun just needs to be sitting back. Byun needs to be pumping tanks. He needs to be pumping Ghost. Maybe a couple of libs in there as well. And then you just move out with pure Marine Marauder out on the map, while your tank Ghost is sitting there defensively. Byun, however, has different plans. He says, hey, you know what? Maybe I can actually do something aggressive here. I don't think that's the answer. I don't think aggression is going to be the answer against a guy that is sitting on currently 0 queens, who's now building his first queen on 64 workers. Look at that army supply that we have here for Dark. That is 134 supply of pure terror. There's no royalty in here at all. Like, this is just aggressive units. Just aggressive units. That's it. 6 Ultralisk. Carapace level 3 now coming in. Melee level 3 now coming in as well. Another thing to add here that I haven't mentioned yet is the relatively low Baneling counts that Dark seems to play with. It's just Ling, Ultra, Roach, Viper. This is really the damage dealers in this army. Ooh, mine's getting kind of caught walking into no man's land. As the Marine Marauder stays alive for now. There's no siege backup. This orbital really needs to lift if it wants to stay alive. As a big fungal connects with this Bioforce. And another fungal connects with the Bioforce. However, with these upgrades, the 3-3 versus 2-2, and in the case of the Roaches, just the 1-2, it actually feels like we're getting okay-ish engagements here for Byun. Yes, this didn't look great as he lost 50 workers. If you take a look at the army supply, it's relatively close. If we take a look at the actual eco, it's not... Look, I'm not saying this is brilliant for Byun, and losing 50 workers obviously hurts, but he's a guy with 4 orbitals, sorry, not 5. 4 orbital commands, as he's lost 1. He's going to be capable of dropping, what, like 10 mules at any given point here. He should be capable of maxing out if he wants to, at least on a Bioforce. He should be capable of adding in 10, 12, 13 more Marauders here in just 3 production cycles. That absolutely should be possible. And that's what we're seeing here with these mules dropping. This is something that Dark ideally would like to deny. If Dark doesn't get to deny this, I'm not saying Dark is dead, not at all, but it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough because if Byun maxes out on an army that consists of 20 Marauders, a bunch of Ghosts, and 10, 15 Mines, like, yeah, that ain't gonna be great, buddy. It ain't gonna be great whatsoever. I actually would have preferred seeing more Marauders mixed in over these extra Ghosts. I mean, Ghosts are absolutely fantastic, but I think what you want right now is you just want a buffer in front of your army. And these Marauders are going to supply that buffer against these Ultras. You want to get quick rounds of units in. You want constant productions of Marauders. And I even wouldn't mind just adding in more Marines, because let's not forget, there are just a lot of links in this army. There's no lurkers yet. A lot of these fights are going to be off creep, which means that Marines are going to be a little bit stronger than they usually are. So what you want are just high bio counts. With the mines, of course, it's going to be great as well. Okay, here comes an attack towards the left side. We have Ghost now dropping on that side, or sorry, on the left side, on the right side. Getting my left and my right confused. An absolute classic. I'd love to see 1 or 2 mines here. Joining in on that far right on Oceanborn. It's not quite the case. We have a Hydra then now popping out. We have the double Vipers in the main base. Absolute wankers. Is there AFK? What's the Queen count? We're at 2. Dude, I freaking love the style that Dark is playing here. He's pretending like he can fight. And so far, he's not really pretending. His resources lost is actually equal to his opponent just because his army supply is so crazy. This is legitimately phenomenal stuff. This is lovely to see. This is lovely to see. We're gonna get 3 more mines. 1, 2, 3. Gonna get a Ghosty. Gonna get a Marauder. $11 Marauders. Do we want more Marauders in this case? I know you kind of regret having the Marines. That's a problem with the Marine. The Marine is one of those units that feels really good to build because your supply goes up, the numbers go up, and then when you have it, you're like, oh. You know, it's a... Having the Marine is kind of like... or building the Marine is kind of like the... You get the post-nut clarity real quick. It's like, oh, I did that? Like, yeah. You did do that. You didn't really want 32 Marines in this comp anymore, did you? Like, I really didn't. I wish I had more Marauders, a couple of lips in there. And you're stuck. It's like, oh, what am I gonna do with these guys? Guess I'll clean them up on the left side, but it's not a great look. It's not a great look. It's trying to add in some extra CCs. It's getting a fusion core as well. Now, if you're a mere mortal like me and you look at these armies, you see what Dark has. It's like, well, that doesn't look great. It doesn't have a great comp here at all. I mean, he's lacking basically everything that seems to matter in these types of fights. But Dark is known to make magic happen. He has 2 forces out here on the map. He's trying to get something done. Get a snipe. Get another snipe. Poof. Infestor goes down. We have 4 Ultras. We have an Infestor. We have a bunch of Links. We have a bunch of Banes. And here we're going to come in with the surround. Can we get a Fungal? No, we can't. Of course we can't. There's no Drilling Claws here. That's legitimate pain. Because that means that these mines are just going to be visible every single time. That's a pretty significant blunder if you're going up to what? 13 mines, yeah. We also have this tech lab available. There's plenty of cash in the bank. Taking a 6 base at this point seems to be risky to me. Not a fan of that at all. Well, the ghosts are going to get sniped. Usually it's the ghosts doing the sniping, but here they're the ones on the receiving end of that deal. I'm not a fan of this move. I really am not a fan of this move. I think you're overexposing yourself, and Oceanborn is a map where taking a 6 base can be very difficult, and I think that's kind of what Dark is banking on. But one thing you can do to kind of mitigate that risk of taking a 6th is by pushing forward with planetaries, either here or onto this high ground. This is something we've seen a lot out of, especially the foreign Terran players, Clem and Oliveira. They love having their planetaries in kind of these key positions, saying, hey, I eventually want to get a 6th base, and I'd rather do it, I'd rather be safe than sorry here. Byun right now is spreading himself very thin, and as a result is actually going to lose his 5th base, where there already is a backup planetary as well, apparently. It's actually more of a trade. It's not really a loss, but even a trade at this point isn't great, especially if it's an even trade, because we see Dark with a much bigger bank, and also we see Dark up in the resources lost, which is, quite frankly, impressive. Dark has really impressed me with the trades in this series so far. So now the Liberator count is ever growing. We have 16 Ghosts, we have 9 Liberators, we have ship weapons on the way, Caduceus Reactor coming in, Mines gonna connect in an okay way, not huge. And all these mines are gonna fall instantly as well, even when the Overseers weren't there on the left side. Liberator's not quite sieged up, Hydra's in the mix too, Ravager Bile's gonna not connect with the Liberators. Oi, 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 oi. As we're now heading in to the natural base of Byun. And this is not looking too great for our Terran player, who, I mean, overall trade-wise, I think this trade probably was somewhat cost-efficient. Actually, it wasn't. Jesus. How does Dark do it? I think the key really is in the lack of queens that he has in the late game. Just the low drone supply and the lack of queens allows him to take these very committed engagements. I'm shocked how well these trades are going. I really am shocked. I never see this type of stuff. Gonna see Dark just basically march in, and I think that's it for Byun. Yeah, GG's gonna get called. Dark wins the game, wins the series. So the lower stakes tournament goes the way of Dark, and hopefully that means that Byun next time they play World Championship, maybe Byun will take it. But for now, Dark with a honestly fairly convincing victory from what was considered a build order loss in the early game, Gasless versus 3 Rex Reaper, and Byun didn't manage to make the W happen. So yeah. Big plays. That's going to be it for me today. Thanks all so much for watching. Hope you did enjoy the series. If you did, don't forget to like button, subscribe to the channel. I'll see all of you next time for a new video. Bye bye.